Welcome to another episode of the Total R&B podcast. My name is Lorena, and today I am super excited because I have someone who is legendary with me here on the podcast. He is a singer, a songwriter, an instrumentalist, an author, an entrepreneur. He is the former leader and writer of the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band, who are known for their hit Express Yourself. In 2015, he released his first book, Up From Where We've Come. And in 2023, he released two new singles, one called Your Hand and another one called Doing It on the Floor. And he is also the winner of a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Heroes and Legends Foundation and inducted into the Mississippi Musicians Hall of Fame and most recently the National R&B Hall of Fame class of 2024. This year, he will be releasing a new book called Express Yourself. So we're going to get into that too. And I'm just honored to have him here in my presence virtually anyway. So welcome to the podcast, Mr. Charles Wright.
Thank you. How are you doing, darling?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk to you. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me today. So I appreciate that.
Okay, my pleasure.
And so I always start off the podcast the same way all the time. My first question is always, what comes to mind when I say, what is your first memory of R&B music?
Uh, Jesse Belvin.
Okay, yes. Your mentor.
Do you know who that is?
Yes, I was researching and I got to know who he is.
All right. Great man.
Yes.
Yes.
So that is your first memory. So we're going to get into him a bit more just later, but I just want to know, how did you get into music?
Thanks to Jesse Belvin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I knew nothing about it at all. I was from Mississippi in the Cotton Patch, and I had come to LA at 12 years old. I hadn't heard any secular music because my father wouldn't allow it because his sharecropping boss had convinced him that the blues was the devil's music. So as a teenager, I'm walking home from school and the kids are singing all these songs. So I asked them where they heard the song. They told me where they heard them on the radio. So I started listening, and one day I heard this song called One Little Blessing by Jezebel. And let me tell you, that voice was so unique and the music was so full of spirit. I decided I'd look him up. So I looked him up in the phone book. He was the only bellman in LA at the time. And I called him until I finally got him. I said, Mr. Bellman, I want to sing and I want to sound just like you. He gave me the greatest piece of advice anybody had given me in the music industry. He said, get your own style, boy, leave mine the F alone. So I thought that'd be a compliment. He said, you ever hear Johnny Ace? I said, yes, I heard of him, but I like the way you sound better. He said, well, you don't get it by now, I'm hanging up. I said, oh, please don't hang up, Mr. Bell. I don't know what y'all doing, but I just want to be a part of it. And so he said, I tell you what, I'm having a rehearsal on Saturday with a group called the Turks, who had hit records on the radio too. He says, you can come over, but you have to keep your mouth shut and listen to what's going on. And I went over there that Saturday, and let me tell you, when I left there, I had to be a part of this thing. That was it. And so that's how I got started.
Okay. And what did you learn from him, like about the music business?
Well, first I had to learn something about the music. And that group, they had this beautiful harmony And really it made me feel good just to hear it, you know.
Hmm.
I knew nothing about harmony, but then after that, I started trying my best to find out all I could about it and what made it function and how I could make it happen for myself. And I started a vocal group, and that's a long story, but I started a group of my own. And eventually, Mr. Bellman told me about a man in the neighborhood who had a recording studio and a record label.
Okay.
And so I went by there and asked the man, would he listen to my group? He told me, don't bring them by until you know sure they're ready. I said, okay. So when I thought we were ready, I took my group there one evening. He said, y'all ain't ready, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to record you so you can hear yourself and see how you sound. Now, my cousin, who was part of my group, Amos, he had a beautiful voice, automatic. So Amos sang the first couple of songs, and I got up to sing. Mr. Mr. Williams was his name. He said, "Oh no, don't you ever try to sing lead.
Oh
You'll
no.
stay in the background for the rest of your life." I felt so bad. I
Wow.
bowed my head. I got back into the background. So after that, there's a tunnel near my house where kids go under the tunnel across the street to get up to school.
Hmm.
I go in there at night. I practice so I can hear my voice coming back in. I practice and practice. And then so one day I went over there by myself to the studio. I'd written a few songs. So I sit down at his piano and I sing this song. He said, I can't believe you're the same guy. You're not the guy. Come here. I told him not to sing with me. So my God, what happened? I said, nothing, I just practicing. I said, if I ain't got it right yet, let me know. I'm going to keep on till I get it right. He said, you got everything it takes and more besides. And next time I go to the studio, I'm going to record you and that song right there. And you're going to be my number one superstar from now on.
Oh wow.
And he took me in the studio and that I recorded my first hit record.
No, that's amazing because a lot of people would have gotten that information like the first time around that they weren't good and they would have given up. That would have been it.
Oh, I had everybody trying to make me give it up. Matter of fact, I took clarinet in high school for 2 semesters, and the teacher gave me a D plus
Oh my gosh.
and told me to look into getting into anything except for the music industry.
Mm-mm-mm.
So and my parents didn't want me to sing this kind of music.
Yeah.
They were so Christianized, but they didn't want me to sing secular music. So I had everything going against me. But once I decided to do this, I was determined to do
Well, looking at everything now, it worked out pretty well for you. So,
it. Thank God it did. Thank God.
and so you also play instruments. So I see some guitars in the back there that you have. Did
Yeah,
did you learn on your own or yeah?
yeah. I teach myself because I'm left-handed.
Oh, me too.
You too. Well,
Yeah.
all right. Well, when I decided to play the guitar, back in those days, nobody was playing guitar left-handed. There was a couple of people in the world doing it, but they told me you can't play guitar left-handed. Well,
Another person shooting you down.
yeah, so I turned the guitar bottom side up and I started practicing on a friend of mine had a guitar, Sears and Roebuck guitar.
Okay.
And he let me mess around with it. He's right-handed, so I had to turn it upside down, and I taught myself how to play.
That's
And matter of fact, during the mid '60s, I was the number one uh, person that they wanted to play on their records on the studio in Los Angeles, in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. And have you taught anybody else how to play?
No, because I'm left-handed, I can't teach them like the right-handed person couldn't teach me.
Okay. Okay, got you. And what
Yeah.
other instruments do you play?
I play enough piano to get by, play enough drum, enough bass,
Wow.
play all those instruments on some of my records.
Yeah, that's amazing. And everything is self-taught.
Yes.
Well, that is so dope. That is amazing. Like,
I was fortunate enough, somebody told me I should go get some music theory
mm,
because I went to a guitar players, teachers, and to try to get some lessons. And he interviewed me for about 30 minutes. Then sitting there with my guitar in my case in front of me, he said, "Oh, let me see what you can do." So I put my guitar on and he said, "What the hell is this?" I said, "I'm gonna show you what I know." He said, "Not here, you ain't not like that. Either you turn that guitar around or restring it and turn the strings around or get out of here."
oh my
I said,
gosh.
just let me show you what I can do.
Mhm.
Oh, get out of here. He kicked me out of his office.
What?
Yeah.
That is so crazy. So your story has a lot of perseverance. Like you had to just motivate yourself and keep on going because there were so many, it seems like there were so many instances where everything was kind of against you, making it happen for yourself.
Yeah. Well, I had to do this or do, I was working on making, um, on a place where we made sewing machine cases.
Okay.
And the boss came in one day and told me, asked me to teach this other guy how to do what I was doing too. So I taught the guy, and then he sent the guy out at lunchtime one day, saying he got a raise. So I went to the boss. I said, he never gave me a raise.
Exactly.
I said, he said, I ain't gonna give you one. If you don't like it, quit. So my parents, I was paying my parents' rent at the time. So I couldn't quit. So I went back out there and I went back to work. He came out there and said, come in the office. I went in the office. He said, since you ain't gonna quit, you're fired.
What?
Yeah. And I said, well, I ain't gonna never work for nobody else like that again.
That is wild. But
Yeah,
unfortunately, those things still happen till this day.
that's too bad, but I'm sure they do.
It does. But see, you don't have to worry about that because there's, a song that you wrote called Express Yourself. And it's like the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh yes, it is. Yeah,
So that makes you not really have to work because that song is in commercials, in TV shows, in movies, and just this year actually, it was a part of a Super Bowl commercial for BMW that had Christopher Walken and Usher in it,
yeah,
which is huge.
yeah, yeah.
So how does that feel like decades later, like this song is still going?
I'm thankful. I thank God every day.
And what do you think it is about the song that like has people using it for different reasons and also sampling the song or maybe doing their own rendition of the song?
You know, one night we were performing at Texas A&M,
Okay.
and we had a hit song called "Do Your Thing."
Mm-hmm.
And it comes to an abrupt end. The kids kept clapping. They kept stomping the floor and clapping. I don't know, only God made me say it. I said, express yourself. And they were, wow. So I said, oh my God, I got something here. So I took my pen and paper and my guitar to my room that night and I wrote the song. And you asked me, what about the song? I think it is that people, everybody wants to express themselves, really.
That's true.
Yes, at one time or another. Yes, sometimes it's in anger, sometimes it's joyfully. However they want to do it, people like to express themselves. That song's been in over 100 commercials around the world. And I'm proud of it and I'm thankful. And that's about the size of it.
Well, also then thank you to those students at Texas A&M who was stomping
Yeah,
their feet and wanted encore, and that message just came through you to just say express yourself, because now we have an amazing song, but then it's also something that just lives on, and then each generation that comes, they're familiar with the song, which is
the
beautiful.
thing about it is when I wrote the song, I did the track and I tried to get the horn players, my horn players to do their part.
Mhm.
They didn't like it.
Are you
They,
serious?
some of them didn't want to play on it. I had to threaten them to go. I was going to go get some of the guys I used to play in the studio with. They'll be glad to play it. They grumbled, but they played it. And I took it to the president of the record company, and he said it was a piece of shit.
Really?
Really. We were working in a nightclub 3 weeks later in Detroit that was owned by a disc jockey. I had the first two copies sent there. I gave him one. He went in his office and he played. He came out and said, I think you made a mistake this time, Charles.
Wow.
Nobody liked to express themselves.
Wow.
Nobody. But that disc jockey, I ran into him at a convention, a music convention, about 10 years later. He said, I told you it was going to be a smash, didn't I? I said, yeah, you sure did.
But that always happens. Like people always want to take credit that they pushed you in the right direction or they helped you in some way once the
Yeah,
song is successful. Like
yeah,
I knew you had one, and it's like no, you didn't.
yeah.
That's amazing. But then moving on now, you're still putting out music because as I mentioned last year, you put out 2 songs. So you had Your Hand and Doing It on the Floor, which is very like blues funk that we don't really hear anymore. It could be where I'm located because I'm in Canada, but I don't often hear blues anymore. So what made you put out new music?
The fact that you don't hear it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I, I guess I'm a rebel. They've taken the emotion out of music nowadays,
Hmm.
which is the main thing we have to offer. And I'm trying to make sure we keep the emotion in the music. The spirit of the music should be making you happy. But nowadays, some of it you listening to it make you angry.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's the reason I put the music out now.
That's very true. There's a lot of artists that I got to speak with on the podcast, and they were saying basically the same thing, that a lot of times they listen to older music because they feel more of a connection with the music. Where when we listen more so to music that came out today, not all, because there are still great music that's coming out from new artists, but a lot of the stuff that's mainstream sometimes there's no connection that they have compared to music from back in the day.
They're making music with a metronome.
Okay.
I I try my hardest with my band when I go in the studio to get that feeling and make people happy and want to dance.
Mhm.
Get that word metronome. metronome. It's a click, 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 and you play along with it, and you put it out and call it a record. And we forgot about Nat King Cole and all the great people that make great music. His, his daughter, Natalie Cole. I mean,
Yeah.
so, some of the greatest music in the history of music, and we made it in recent time. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Come on, and you
I
can,
love Earth, Wind, and Fire.
yeah. Um, I have something to do with that too. I think my guitar player was playing with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. I'm actually reading the biography of Maurice White, so I'm gonna check that out
yeah,
when I get to that part, of course. But yeah, that's so cool.
yeah.
And so, how did those songs come together that you put out last year?
How they come together?
Yeah. So, what did you collaborate with anybody, or it was all you that wrote and produced the song?
I write my own songs and I produce them. Uh, you heard uh, doing it on the floor?
Oh, I heard both of them, and I watched the video too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, doing it on the floor is like a very fun video. It reminds me of summer. Here it's still snowing here, unfortunately. So I was just like, I'm missing summertime.
Oh,
I
yeah.
listened to that song and I watched the video.
All right. And bring you somewhere around. Did you see the video of your hand?
I saw that too. It was a
Uh,
little spicy, but I like it.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're both good songs, and like I said, it takes me back to the time, like, my grandmother loves blues music, her and her husband, blues, jazz, and so I always remember listening to that music, but then now I don't often hear it, so it just brought that back, like, it made me realize that I don't hear it that often anymore, so it was dope. It was refreshing to hear that.
Good. Thank you.
Of
That makes
course.
it worthwhile.
No, yeah, because, again, we don't hear it all the time. Same thing with, like, jazz, like,
Yeah.
you don't often hear it. So,
What part of Canada are you in?
I'm in Montreal.
Where? Montreal?
Yeah,
Yeah. I've been up there, but it's been years ago.
okay.
People up there got a different attitude than these people here.
Yes. Yes, but it's changed a lot.
I bet I'm sure they have.
Yeah, it changed a lot. I know, like, I always hear stories that my mom or my grandmother tells me, and I guess I don't know, it just seemed a lot more fun back then than it is now. We have a lot of rules that came into place, and it kind of got a lot of people not really coming to the city as much anymore, so
Some of the ugliness of over here is seeping into there, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's changed a lot. It
Yeah,
has. Yeah.
I
Um,
believe.
so I also wanna talk about too, um, your books. Because you had Up From Where We've Come, which gives details of your upbringing and your move to Los Angeles. But now you're coming out with a new book later this year titled Express Yourself. So is there anything that you can tell us about this book, like what it's about?
Which book?
Express
The,
Yourself, the one that's
oh,
coming out.
it's about my life in show business.
Oh, okay.
It's what everybody want to hear. Yeah. Uh, I thought my other book, Up From Where We Come, was. Did you read that book?
No, I didn't know about it until now, but I'm definitely going to read it because, like I mentioned, like I got Maurice's white book, but I am going to get yours because I feel like it's so important to learn this information of the artists that open doors, for the artists that we have today. So I'm definitely going to get it.
Well, you should have read my book before you interviewed me.
I couldn't get it in time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, all right. I'm not gonna jump down your throat.
No, but I will get it, and I will message Monique when I have it, and you'll know that I got the book. I'm definitely gonna get it. I promise you
Okay.
that.
All right. Yeah, that book was about my life as a child and what my family went through in the cotton fields of Mississippi. And I think the history is that everybody should know that history. They're trying to, now I don't know if you know what's happening in America, but a lot of the states are trying to pretend that the history never took place.
They're
That's
banning a
true.
lot of the books.
Yeah, that slavery never took place. I can't imagine America doing that, but they're doing it. I can see Germany doing it in the 40s.
Hmm.
And America in 2024, I mean, that's baffling to me that we've degraded ourselves to that degree. But,
Hmm.
but my book is Stone American History that everybody should know about, I think. And they tell me, I mean, I go around, read my reviews, and people say they love my book and it's a good read. Some people say they pick it up to read it for a minute and they end up next morning they're through with it.
No, but I feel like it's important because a lot of people feel too, I find, like it happened so long ago. And it's like, no,
It ain't that long ago, baby.
it's not that long ago at all. And so I find it is important, like you said, to know our history and where we've come from. Because even here in Montreal, like we have our, I guess it would be our equivalent of our mayor. Is it our mayor? Yes, our mayor. And he believes that there's no racism here, but it happens every day here. Like it's really bad.
I'm
But
sorry to hear that.
he will publicly say those things. And again, I had friends who have been harassed and beaten by the police, and all those different things are happening all over, and it's heavy, it's very sad, but I also feel like people need to pay attention to what happened in the past and learn from it. Learn where you come from.
I'm so sorry to hear that in Canada. I'm so sorry.
Mm,
I've been to Canada at a time where there's a line of people, 20 people, trying to buy a hamburger. And I get in line, they tell me, no, you come up front. We know what you've been through and what you go through in America.
yeah. No,
I,
there's a lot of beautiful, nice people here. I find in Canada, the racism and everything is kind of swept under the rug. Like no one really speaks out about it. It's not really spoken out on the news. Whereas in the US, I find you'll have more people that will speak up about what's going on, and you'll find out what's happening, and more people, there's more, I guess, resistance to it. Whereas here, it's kind of like quiet.
denial.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
anyway, my book, Express Yourself, it starts when I first arrived in California, and it goes through. I sing with three different vocal groups. We all had hit records before the Watts Band was even thought about. And then I became a studio musician. And I formed the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band. And the rest of that is history. Um, I'm just trying to answer your question. We
No,
get
it answers it because I just wanted to know, like, for the people, what it was about. So we're definitely gonna have to get that book as well when that comes out later this year. But we have to first get up from where we've come before.
all right.
Definitely. Okay, so I have a few more questions before I let you go. So I want to know because we know you put out new music last year, and I want to know because the business has changed so much. is there something that you really enjoy about the business now that wasn't there like years ago?
Not really. Not really. Uh,
Okay.
I enjoy my success, thank God. I never dreamt would happen with express yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah, uh, I really enjoy that success at my older age.
Of course. And what advice would you have now for any artist that's coming up in the industry?
Try to get some music theory under your belt.
Okay.
Learn how to play an instrument and join a band.
Mm,
Yeah, a live band, not uh, just a piano and a metronome.
yeah.
Make records uh, without the emotion that music has to offer. And people have been making music all over the world for years. And the reason for music is to lift you up, make you dance, make you happy, or make you sad. But mostly to make you happy, to keep you going. You know. That's what music is for. It's not just some notes.
Mhm.
It's more than notes, a lot more than notes.
I agree with that one. So definitely to get into the band, learn music theory, live instruments, that is key. So definitely. I agree. So I hope that does come back around and more people start bringing in live instruments into their recording session.
It almost has to.
Mhm.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to die a still death. Emotionless music is not going to get it.
No, I agree. And the songs, they keep getting shorter and shorter and shorter too.
And sometimes some of them are getting vicious, and some of them are getting pro, like pornographic music. So that's because they can't find the real thing.
Mhm.
They're coming up with everything to make you do something to your brain and make you react.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also wanted to ask you about the National R&B Hall of Fame class of 2024. So what was that like receiving that information that you're a part of the nominees to be inducted?
You know what? I was in it before I even knew it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just found out about it a month or so ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. But that's good to be recognized for
I,
your work.
I appreciate it, but I don't make my music for get stars on the Hollywood Boulevard. I make my music for the hearts of the people. I try to do music that to move people to make them feel like I was just saying a few minutes ago, make them happy.
Mhm. Yeah. But I also say that not to be just to get awards, but I also find sometimes we don't recognize our artists a lot of times.
Yeah, well, they try to ignore me, but God is in charge.
Mhm. That's true. Yes,
Yeah,
all the time. Because I also bring that up because I did see too, you had a show, the Express Yourself show.
yeah.
And I was watching the interview you did with Little Richard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he's someone I find like that we don't recognize his talents or we don't speak about him a lot as we should or you know celebrate him also so that's what I was kind of thinking too in that instant.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed that show with Richard because it was like most of the time when they talk to Richard, it's all about down stuff and this, and they cheated him and that. But we dealt with that, but we also had some fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that show, and he did too. I know he did because he didn't wear it to close.
Yeah, but that's what I feel. I feel like we don't have that information because, like you said, a lot of times they'll talk about, artists not making the money or being, I don't know, screwed over in some situation or all of the kind of trials and tribulations. But there's a lot of good times, a lot of happy times that was happening. We don't often talk about that or know those stories really.
Yeah. Well, Little Richard was a dynamic person. God bless his soul.
Yes.
He was different than you could be, but he was dynamic. He could play that piano. He could light
Mhm.
a room up on that piano.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me here, answering all of my questions, and getting to know your journey more. So, before I let you go, tell us anything that we need to look out for and how we can keep up with, your music and everything that you have going on.
Well, I'm celebrating my birthday on the 5th of April, actually.
Well, happy early birthday.
Okay, I'm gonna have a band and everything, and we're gonna have a great time. So that's one thing that's coming up for me that I'm looking forward to. And I found you to be a delightful interview. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Like, this was an honor for me. So, I greatly appreciate this. This is a memory that I'm going to have forever. So, I am very, very thankful. And like I said, I'm getting your book. So, don't worry about that. I'm going to get it. And I will be getting Express Yourself once that is released later on this year as well. So, I'm excited to dive into those books. And for everybody that's listening and watching, my name is Lorena, the host of the Total R&B podcast. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at total.rnb. So thank you so much, Mr. Charles Wright, for stopping in and chatting with me.
My pleasure.
Thank you.